Hello, Tim Gavel here from the Region Media Group with the sports report for the week. Well, there is concern about a drop-off in referees, not just in soccer across Canberra, but other sports have been affected. And it's not a new thing. Over the last 20 years or so, we've been doing this story quite regularly. Alongside me is the former leading referee in Australia in football, Ben Williams from Canberra. And Ben, just having a look at it, it's not a new story, but it keeps propping up, and there seems to be a constant with abuse and people not wanting to do it.
Yeah, you're right, Tim, and I guess for sport to operate, we want to have good level officials right across every sport in order to make sure that sport remains fun and safe. That's what keeps our people coming back and keeps people involved in sport and healthy and active.
So how do we solve it? What's the solution here?
So I've brought my magic wand, and I think the key, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It is around that respect for officials. I think right across all sports, and some sports really differ. If you look at maybe the respect in rugby versus soccer or netball and hockey or cricket, there is a culture within a particular sport. But I think at the grassroots level, where we want to encourage so many people to participate and be involved, actively involved, there has to be, that absolute respect. Now, there's been lots of zero tolerance policies, and as you know, it's always difficult. It's easy to write on a piece of paper, but it's a difficult one to try and police. But I think we need to, ideally work towards a situation where on the sidelines it becomes self-policed. So if there's a young official, or even not a young official, that's copping abuse from the crowd or even players on the field, that behaviour gets called out, and they are the outlier as opposed to the main voice.
You're a former referee, long retired, a few years now. Now that you're watching the game from the sideline and I guess observing from a different point of view, does it worry you at times what you hear and what you see?
Yeah, it's different on TV, but even around the local grounds here, I've had to come out of retirement a little bit to take the whistle for my wife's Masters soccer matches recently. And only a couple of weeks ago, there was one woman who the game was travelling along really, really nicely, and with about 5 or 10 minutes to go, she just kind of lost the plot around a throw-in and then spat the dummy and walked off after kicking someone on the way off, and took her bag and went home. Now, if that can happen to someone that, with a little bit more experience in the game, what's that going to do to that little 14-year-old or 15-year-old that's going to referee? They're not going to want to come back. And we want Aussie coaches to be the best in the world, Aussie players and Aussie officials as well.
Good on you, Ben. Thanks very much for providing an insight, but also a possible solution. Thanks very much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Tim.
That's Ben Williams. Back with more in just a moment.
This week's Sports Wrap proudly brought to you by Rubik 3.
Hello, Tim Gavel here from the Region Media Group. Welcome back to the Sports Report. Now, the Raiders take on the Roosters in Gosford on Saturday night. The Raiders have an horrific injury toll as well as players suspended. Josh Papali'i still out through suspension, but Jack Whiten and Josh Hodgson are back this weekend for this game against the Roosters. And it's 5th up against 11th. The Raiders have dropped to 11th place. 34 unanswered points conceded on the weekend against the Melbourne Storm after the Raiders led 10-0 through the first 15 minutes to go down 34-10. The second halves have been a real issue for the Raiders this year. And further bad news for Canberra with Chance Nickel-Klukstar, the fullback, out for much of the season with a neck injury. He'll be back for the final couple of rounds, but quite obviously that is a massive blow. So the Raiders up against the Roosters, Gosford, Saturday night. Now the Brumbies are in Auckland to take on the Blues in the Super Rugby Trans-Tasman competition. The Brumbies have lost 2 in a row to the Crusaders, and on the weekend they went down to the Chiefs by 21 points in Hamilton. So no doubt looking to finish their New Zealand campaign with the victory against the Blues on the weekend. Tom Cusack, by the way, returned on the weekend on Saturday in the loss to the Chiefs, which was great to see after battling injury. He missed the final here in Australia, also the opening game against the Crusaders in New Zealand. So the Brumbies have got one more game in New Zealand before they return home to play 2 games at Canberra Stadium. In other sport, in AFL Canberra, the Queanbeyan Tigers on top of the AFL Canberra competition. They defeated Gungahlin by 166 points. Now, obviously, a few concerns there about Gungahlin. They've had losses. 156 has been one margin, 220 another through 4 rounds. So the hope is that Gungahlin will recognise the fact that they've got some green shoots, they've got some good young players coming through, and they'll get stronger as the competition continues. And the Canberra Brave remain on top of the Australian Ice Hockey League, or the modified format of the Australian Ice Hockey League, with 3 teams involved, Newcastle, Sydney and Canberra. They're on top of the ladder there, which is great to see. This is Tim Gavel signing off for the Region Media Group.